We're live on Instagram.
Starting my video.
Hello, Instagram.
Yeah, all live. Hello, YouTube.
We're like a virus. We're everywhere.
Yeah, we're everywhere. Well, you know.
Okay, you're live on.
We're certainly not lonely.
We're certainly not lonely. We're all connected.
You're live on Facebook. You're live on Instagram, and you're live on YouTube.
Live on YouTube.
Excellent.
I'm going to press record.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Yeah, we're rolling on sound. I'll get Johnny to clap it a sec.
Okay.
One of the things I'm going to be doing is like creating an office with a lot of my private clients where we have a live studio.
Excellent. I
And
think
bring some amazing
everyone that's in
people
coaching
in,
needs that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and bring some amazing people in, and then I want to create a unique show where I bring the top experts, especially the people I've been working with, on the show, and I'm going to create something that really creates value for, I'd say, the wider community.
Yeah.
Because what's on TV is like I switch off.
Well, it's like what we discussed. There's certainly people out there that could do, with help that such as ourselves offer, but getting access in, they may not be able to afford our services. But I think the least that we can do, our responsibility as coaches, is just to put out value.
Put out
there for
there,
that audience. Yeah.
And share.
Exactly. Oh, we good to go? Right.
Good.
So, giving a 3, 2, 1 countdown. We're ready, yeah. 2, 1. All right. Hi guys, it's me, Johnny Cassell, and welcome to the Johnny Cassell Show. Today I have a very special guest with us. It's Tony J. Selimi.
Hello.
Now Tony is a very well-known international human behaviorist and cognition expert. I like that.
You like that? Good.
I like that.
I
You know
like
when like someone asks you, what do you do? I just have to fix people now.
Yeah.
But I like the cognition
expert.
Yeah. And another term I've heard you use as well is the see-through coach.
The see-through coach.
I like
yes.
the see-through coach.
It's unique.
It is.
Nobody uses that, so
So I think we should start this. For those that haven't heard about yourself, I know that I've seen some interviews that you've done already online. You did a fantastic talk for the UN, which was very good, and I saw you on a US show as well. And something that really resonated with me, something that you said, was that just like you put your car in for an MOT, we need to actually take care of our own vehicle, like ourselves. We need to put ourselves through an MOT, which really resonated with me because we just get caught up in life, and we don't really have time to sort of take a look inside. So that was really cool. Tony, what's your story?
My story. Well, I came to England about 27 years ago, and I actually escaped the civil war. In fact, my mother saved my life from being in civil war in former Yugoslavia. So I ended up homeless in the streets of London.
Wow. And how long were you homeless here in London?
I lived homeless for about 6 months.
Okay, how do you survive when I see homeless guys all the time, and you just kind of take it for granted, like but you don't really think about the bigger picture, the day to day. What sort of day to day stuff do you go through when you're being whilst you're homeless?
For me, it was different because it wasn't really a choice to be homeless. It was just the whole circumstances around me at that time, living a home and a country where you grew up with, where you felt secure. Suddenly, civil war strikes and destroys everything you believe in, and then your life is threatened every single second. And then, normally your parents would do anything to get you out of there. And so that's what my mother did. She borrowed some money from a neighbor, and it was the last flight coming from Macedonia to England. And when I arrived, I simply was scared. And, having been brought up in a normal family, hardworking family, having, home and, clothes, and having a normal reality where, you don't think about food, you don't think about the struggles that you will face one day. Suddenly you see the entire country collapsing, the entire system collapsing, people killing one another, and, brothers turning to each other, and, we grew up as one community. We didn't grow up to have all this nationalism that was brought about with the breaking up of former Yugoslavia. But being homeless on the streets of London was terrifying in many aspects because, first of all, I only had about 200 Deutschmarks, which was at the time, I would say now, probably about 100 quid.
It's not going to go far, is it?
Yes, but I had to ration. I had to think about how long will that, keep me on the streets surviving. And I remember, I mean, I used to simply live on bread, and occasionally I would buy milk.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long did you last on 100?
Well, I lasted about 5.5 months, and then a lady from former...
On 100?
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I would take a loaf of bread and I'll make it last for a week.
Wow.
And I would just live on bread and water.
I mean, that's... I mean, obviously your diet's changed now.
Yeah, diet has changed now for sure.
Yeah, hopefully.
But that's what I used to go through. And then I remember I met a lady from Macedonia who we started chatting, and suddenly she said, "No, you're not going to stay homeless. You're going to come to my place. You can stay for the weekend, and I'll help you find a job."
Wow, bless her.
And she did help me find a job. She put me towards some job agencies, which I applied, and luckily for me, I got a job next day.
Amazing.
And straight away I got a job working in a restaurant with a living position, so I was working
Great.
pretty much 18 hours a day.
Great.
And that was the beginning of me, trying to make sense of my reality and trying to get myself back on track.
Mm-hmm.
But during this 6 months period, I wasn't really thinking about food. I was thinking about the grief, and I was thinking about the emotions and people I left behind, people I lost during the Civil War, and trying to make sense what happened.
Yeah. What I found very interesting whilst I was reading your book, and I haven't completed the book yet, but and this is the book, by the way, guys, if you haven't got it already, it's #loneliness, and I think you raised some really interesting points in it. I think that you talk about being lonely in the modern day, and I think this is something that wherever you're from, whatever your background, you can really relate to that. I think in the modern day culture that we live in, we can feel lonely even in our relationships. We can
Absolutely.
feel lonely in social settings because not many people, I'm seeing it's increasing, we're not present anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about, oh, you're always on your phone, but it is actually a problem. And I've spoken about it on some of my podcasts recently as well, that, have a switch off period and stuff like this. And you mentioned as well, like London is one of the biggest cities in the world, and the irony of it is it's probably the most loneliest, right? So tell me a bit about, because what you mention as well is you talk about, and I've got a quote here, which I love, and this is on page 67. You open up the chapter with this. Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being not able to communicate the things that seem important to you. And from what you just said there about, you're caught up in your mind about the grief and the trauma and the emotional difficulties, do you feel that's where that kind of quote came from?
Not just that, many other things have happened to me ever since. It's like I meet thousands of people, and I used to run workshops between 2012 and 14. And every human being, even in the corporate world, there's loneliness, but nobody talks about it. There's this stigma about loneliness, and people feel ashamed about it. And when you think about it, we are extremely complex human beings, and we haven't been taught how to really master our inner being. So we've been taught consistently how to master the life outside of ourselves.
Yes.
And the daily distractions, I call them, keeps us almost incongruent with our true being within the self. And therefore, there's not much of a presence in a human being if you meet them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wherever you go in London or around the world, or you go to the airport or you're on a bus, people are lonely.
Yeah.
And they don't communicate anymore, and it's almost become strange to strike a conversation with a random stranger.
And how are we going to tackle that? I mean, how are we in society today going to tackle these, our inner demons? And also like being quite entrepreneurial, you do feel slightly disconnected
Mm-hmm.
with the wider audience out there because you're on a different time scale from most people. As not a lot of people can really associate with your daily struggles and stuff. What sort of advice, because I know you work with a lot of business people,
Mm-hmm.
what sort of advice can you offer people that are in this situation on how to really tackle this?
I mean, the first thing is to actually identify the form of loneliness that you have within yourself, because loneliness shows up in our lives in different forms. You mentioned earlier on loneliness in a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and you could be lonely being in a work environment, or you could be lonely being out socially. And I see it consistently when people go out socially and they are lonely. And the first thing is that most people are afraid to talk. You know, we've created this society where people are not able to express themselves. And therefore there's a lot of fear around why people are not speaking their inner truth. Now, you know, recently we co-created a documentary with my clients called Living My Illusion. And this is specifically about men going through mental health and through midlife crisis problem. Now, men, you can imagine if you're married.
Very interesting topic.
Not many people would go about and go back to their partner and say, I have a mental health problem, because you will feel they are weak.
Yeah, emasculated.
And emasculated, and therefore all this stigma that gets attached to men, and they isolate themselves, and that brings you back into what I call in #loneliness, puts you on a path where you go into the caves of wretched solitude, where you simply become imprisoned in your own darkness, and you have no way out of that inner prison that we create. That's why I believe firmly that every human being would benefit from great coaches, mentors, and healers, and being able to have somebody that can open up to. And usually, it's strange, but it's very common. People open up to a total stranger, but not to a friend or a partner.
Yeah, and this is something I've been speaking quite heavily on at the moment. It's, you know, when we talk about relationship issues, we've got, you know, the vague advice that's out there is, oh, you've got to communicate. But, you know, like, what is that? Like, what do you mean? And I think people don't communicate their inner problems or their, you know, their loneliness or their desires and their wants, their needs, because they fear that they feel that there's a shame or consequence attached to sharing. So I think that, yes, there's certainly a side that we need to be talking about, you know, don't bottle this up, you know, but express it. But also, I think there's another message we need to be sending out to people, like maybe say if we are in relationships, for people to not shame someone for sharing, you know, because if you're in a long-term relationship, you know, and someone takes their guard down and they show how vulnerable they are, that it's just wrong to punish someone through that, you know, it's, you don't grow.
Yeah,
right.
But the problem I see, Johnny, is most of the couples that I've worked with, it's not many people have been taught how to listen.
Yes.
Okay. So
what did you say?
So when people are not being taught how to listen, it's very difficult for a partner in a relationship to communicate their inner thoughts. Because the first thing I've noticed when I start working with people, I'm sure you've done the same, it's how straight away there's a judgment no matter what you say. Or there's an opinion.
Yes.
And sometimes a person does not even want an opinion. They just want for you to sit in there and listen without giving the solution.
I agree.
And most partners are used to this, like almost like they project their own values outwardly to their partner. But we as human beings, we are complex in a sense that each person is unique with their true authentic values. And our values are the operating system that really drives us and how we think and how we perceive the world and how all the information we absorb from our external environment with our 5 senses goes into our body and the way it gets processed. And that is absolutely unique to every human being. And this is where I believe in the support that experts can help you with, being able to be the mirror from which you can self-reflect and being able to take you slowly and safely towards the road in which you see all those disempowered states and beliefs that you may have inside of yourself, or certain values which we hold dear and we think like we cannot change.
What I'm interested in is, you know, I work with a lot of people in relationships or looking to find someone, build up their confidence, self-esteem. You work with a lot of business professionals and corporates and stuff like that. What are the concerns of, you know, people in those environments? Like, what are you doing when you're working with these guys?
Well, biggest concern is like stress. You know, a lot of people have stress, but not just that, they have massive demand on their time. Now, in today's world, most people are expected to do 5 people's jobs, but with the same time of 1 person's job. So that causes a lot of distress, but also they have problems in their within themselves with their confidence issues and, you know, the not good enough factor. And also every word today is being measured.
Mhm.
So as an influential person or as a business person, if you come up with something, somebody somewhere will catch you. It's almost like we live in this blame culture instead of being able to listen to one another. I mean, all you have to do is look at the media and the way media portrays information out there without giving you the full, complete picture of any situation. Similarly, in the work environment, most companies, they are in business because they need to make profits. That's number one. Now, if the company doesn't make profits, they have to take certain measures. And often, most companies the first measure is to remove staff. And for me, it's not the staff that's the problem.
What's the problem, Tony?
It's the overall organizational mindset and not being aligned to the company's true value and the way the services are being run within the company. Because sometimes you can go into the processes of the company and you'll find a lot of problems within the processes.
Mm-hmm.
Other times you see problems within leadership. Other times you see problems within senior management, also the problems from processes to communications to the way people behave.
So it's more about the development of the individuals within the company. That's the problem,
Yeah.
as opposed to getting rid of them.
Correct. I mean, it's basically, since like the 2008 financial crash, most companies have almost renewed the budgets for personal development.
Right. Yeah.
And, for me...
That's wrong. I mean, I think if you're working with any sort of company, you expect some sort of coaching,
Yeah.
like on the job, or some time out for them to put you on to
Yeah.
adapt to the new world, etc.
But it's the same even in the companies. I noticed like some of my executive clients, although they have internal coaches, they don't want the internal coaches because they also don't want I would say, the information being disclosed within the company.
That I can
So
understand.
there's the fear also around that, saying, okay, if I'm going to go for an internal coach, this coach might have to give feedback to the HR and to the company.
You don't want to be
So
like the
therefore-
gossip of the office.
Correct.
Yeah.
So therefore, again, it's this almost like fear of not being true to who you are and not being true to
That shame again. The
shame
consequence.
again and the
Yeah.
consequence. And instead of us focusing on actually bringing the greatest of ourselves and being able to perform as conscious leaders within the company, I mean, all you have to do is like look at how much time and money is being wasted around Brexit, around one decision, which was basically based on misinformation. Now, every day we do that
Mhm.
in different areas in our life, and in business is the same. People make decisions consistently without really thinking the overall complete picture of what that decision will have an impact across every single layer of the organization. And people as leaders or senior execs and people I work with, that is a massive responsibility for them to handle. And then they come out of balance, and that will affect them, has a knock-on effect on their family, on their children, on their confidence, the things they want to do but they don't have time anymore to do, and people will work late hours, and nowadays it's almost acceptable for you to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week. And if you don't...
Sounds normal to me.
Yeah, and if you don't, again, there's the other stigma, what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah.
So, we've moved away from actually appreciating and valuing people, and then we consistently expect people to do more and more and more and more, and we put them into a burnout.
Yeah.
And nobody performs well under burnout, so therefore mistakes will be made.
I'm constantly burning myself out, to be honest with you. I work like so many hours a week, and then I'll have to have a day where I just shut down. It's like shut down the computer.
So not rebooting, shut down.
I reboot, but it takes me a while to get back in it. But I think that's a different. I think that's a challenge when you're running your own business,
Yeah.
and you want to try and have a hands-on with everything. But I think I was at a talk the other day with Richard Branson. He was talking about at 4 o'clock he doesn't take any meetings afterwards. It's like playtime then.
Yeah.
So you know what, like maybe we all need to have that sort of discipline in our life too, because we need it's no point working so hard if there's no fun time, right?
Yeah. I always believe in the balance. You work and then you play, and for me personally, I feel fortunate today because I've created a lifestyle business where basically I get to do both.
Yeah.
Even with my clients, when I go and take them to like Menorca, where I do my 5-day intensive coaching, vital planning for elevated living,
Mhm.
we do a lot of study, a lot of work, a lot of play on the beach and sports and everything else. So there's a balance every single day generated with fun, with food,
Yeah.
with meditation, with elements. So you actually feel good about yourself.
Mhm.
So,
that's a whole different, like, we could speak ages about that. I mean, you know, I'm the worst. I wake up and I'm lying in bed. I'm just on the phone. I haven't even had breakfast yet. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm hungry. And then I'm like, you're not hungry. Keep going.
But have you noticed, you know, a lot of people asking me, especially people who are single, and the truth is, we have made our mobile phone our relationship. You know, we formed a new relationship with technology.
Yeah.
And basically, a lot of people, the first thing they do exactly that. They open up the phone, and I said to them, so you're not making love the first thing you wake up?
Yeah.
People don't make love anymore. You know? They go we have a planning. Coming.
We got all this technology.
She probably was looking at all this stuff.
Like, I'm ready.
No, but I mean, it's a new problem. It's a new problem that we are consistently distracted by technology.
Yeah.
And we've almost removed ourselves from what it means to be in touch with ourselves, but also with people that we have around, and people we love, and people we connect, especially people we are in relationship with.
Yeah. It's really ironic. We got all these so many like great tools that we can use to bring ourselves together with people from afar or near, but you know, and they are great tools. So you can't ignore that. It's just managing when you use them, and if you're overly using them, I guess, you know. Something I want to talk about as well is you talk a little bit about the law of attraction.
Yeah.
And you talk about HEF. Mm-hmm. So for the people out there that like, what the hell is HEF? What is HEF?
HEF, okay. That's a terminology which I invented, and it's about the human energy field. Okay. Most people think about human energy field as the aura, but a lot of people who do not understand science or are left-brainers, they almost dismiss the reality that they even have one. Mm-hmm. Okay. But in today's world, where we have the technology now to show us that we do have one, people started being more acceptable about that. But human energy field is like we are energy body. Okay, it's if you were to take different scanners and scan you through the body, it's in one scanner might show you your organs, the other scanner might show your skeleton, the other scanner might show the consistency of your brain. The other one can go even further until you disappear, so you don't even see anything apart from nanoparticles within yourself.
Wow. Okay.
So, you know, and if you think about, we have trillions of atoms in our body. Now, if you understand science, you will know that every atom has its electron, its positrons, and its neutron. Mm-hmm. So each one of them vibrates at a different speed within ourselves. So the human energy field is all of those vibrations that get generated within ourselves. Now, when I work on a healing level, the moment I touch the human body, I can see a lot of things that most people don't.
I can see why these women are calling you.
You know, it's most people do not see that. But when I make I would say, analogy and a metaphor with technology, then people start really understanding that. Meaning, it's common for us to understand technology. We have a mobile phone, and it connects to a master that sends a signal. But we don't see the signal. You know, we don't see anything that is in the air that comes to your mobile phone, and you see trillions of information, videos, and stuff like that. You just see the end result. Mm-hmm. Now, in the thin air, we have tremendous amount of information that human eye does not see, nor human body does not accept. You know, that is real, because if we don't see it, we don't acknowledge it. But if you go into the different instruments that we can measure, you can see clearly what kind of frequencies we use to send and transmit information. Now, we are both transmitter and a receiver of information. And because we are energy body. Now, whatever happens within ourselves, okay, we transmit it outwardly. Yeah. The only way people can understand that when they are next to a person who's extremely negative. Okay? And say, oh my God, this person is negative.
So what I call that, my question is state transference. Yeah. You know, if you've got someone that's negative, then, you know, they are output, and it does have, it's quite contagious. You know, it's the same thing as if, you know, you've got a guy that's, you know, just a good laugh. You know, he's always someone you want around because he lifts the mood up. Are we talking about the same sort of thing here?
Yeah, I mean, I used to think it's contagious. I don't anymore.
Okay, why is that?
Well, you know, it's there's a different set. The only time it's contagious is when you judge. So because we have not really gone that into attaining inner mastery and equilibrating our brains and our perceptions and being able to see every situation with the full completeness and awareness, that's where we attract negativity. And that's where we feel it's contagious. But in actual fact, it's, it's just simple energy. It's only our perceptions that we put on it, and we say it's negative or positive.
As soon as
it's not really the energy, the raw energy.
We're talking about NLP now. It's like you put a label on something and you start associating a feeling with that label. So it's like change the label or just being more awake to that person isn't actually that.
No. It's basically it's how we actually perceive information.
Yeah.
And if, for instance, somebody taught us that, let's say that behavior or that thought or that phrase or whatever action the person does, we consider it as a positive, we associate it with a positive thinking. And we consider it as negative, we are associated with negative thinking. So therefore, like attracts like.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be attracting that which you are avoiding.
You are attracting that what you're avoiding.
Together, properly.
It's going to take me a moment to digest that.
We need to digest that.
We're attracting what we're avoiding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Resonate?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I like that.
So if we're going to avoid pain, for instance, we're going to be consistently attracting pain until we master the emotion that creates the pain.
Okay. Again, it's going to take me a moment to digest that. But I like it. There's some meat in there. I like that. Okay. So there's a lot of skeptics out there that, when you mention the law of attraction, people think it's a bit like wishy-washy and airy-fairy and I know there's people that are quite openly and publicly, I see on Facebook all the time, they guys go, how can you think of something and it just kind of come to you? And I think that's been taken out of context, because I definitely have reference in my life where I've created an image in my head of the things that I want and the sort of lifestyle that I want. And, it's not like it just happens, it's there, but it's important that you have this vision and you put it somewhere at the back of your head and then you just carry on doing what you're doing. And I think, opportunities, they come, close to us. And I think it's actually up to us to realize that's an opportunity and to get off our ass and see it. I think like part of what the law of attraction teaches is to be a bit more awake to these things, because there's opportunity that's kind of happening left, right, and center all the time, but whether you're aware of it is a different thing. I think that exercise of in that vision of what you want helps you waken up that part of your mind. I mean, what do you think about that concept?
Well, basically, for anybody who's a skeptic, I would say go back to school and go back and study the things you are skeptic about. So if you're skeptic about how the law of attraction works, go and study it, because there's a science behind that. And if you study the maths and the physics and the science behind that, you'll be amazed what you find. And for people who probably haven't read, I would say go and study what the scientists at NASA found, which is basically a thought can travel all the way to the moon. And it's been measured.
How did they get there?
Well, it's exactly that. If you think about everything is fully interconnected. How does a wave comes to our mobile phone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're so used to see the technology working, but the law of attraction is no different to the technology we've created.
Now,
have you been in an area where you don't have a signal?
Yes.
And what do you do?
Get pissed about it.
Surely you want to go like closer somewhere where you go around.
Yeah,
there's a signal. Okay.
I try to find a better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the same. It's like there's more likelihood for our thoughts to manifest into reality if we consistently put the energy, the attention, the awareness into it.
Agreed.
And then we become extremely heightened. Our awareness becomes very heightened. So therefore, we would spot opportunities we normally wouldn't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So a lot of people, if you really study many of the laws of nature, we're no different to nature. We come from nature. So we've almost become deluded what nature is.
Mm-hmm.
And we've become so disconnected from nature that basically we're afraid from nature. But if you observe what nature does, we are no different to what nature does. Nature destroys, we destroy. Nature builds, we build. You know, one thing about humanity, we're so used to when we create some amazing stuff, but then we tend to judge when we destroy things. But, you know, nature does not judge when it destroys. Did the hurricane judge anything? No. Did the hurricane ask, who are these people? No, it just destroys the whole land.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So it's in our human nature to be able to consistently evolve, and through evolution, we must destroy that which does not serve us anymore. You know, in our body regenerates consistently, and it destroys and builds consistently within ourselves. But we don't see that.
Mm.
And therefore, we don't have an awareness of it. So I see a lot of people when, for instance, in a relationship, you know, I've helped people divorce with love. I'm known in the circles where I operate as a coach who helps people divorce with love. So they don't have to go.
Have a divorce party.
Absolutely. Have a divorce party. Because, you know, the first thing is couples, they would end up going into arguments and trying to grab the power grab. And for me, those are animalistic behaviors. And if you step into your heart and you step into your superconscious self, which is infinite in its nature, you know it's part of life, and you can actually separate, honor each other's truth, and move on with love. And this is what living my illusion is about. When two people, after being together for 10 years, they come to their own awareness,
mm-hmm.
and the fact that they outgrown each other, and it's time for something new for them.
Right. And
unfortunately, a lot of people hold on to illusions or beliefs that they might have what a relationship is or what a marriage is. You know, we are upgradable as the technology. And people do not do that MOT, which we started this conversation with.
Yeah.
And for me, even at my level of awareness, I consistently invest in my coaching. I consistently have a mentor and a healer that I work every single year. Because right now, I cannot see behind me. You can.
Yeah.
And I can see behind you. And for me, a great mentor, a great coach will do exactly that. Will bring a different light on a situation normally you do not see.
Absolutely. I think, you know, just touching on that when you're talking about, you know, getting coaching, getting mentorship, you know, there might be people out there think, well, you know, why do I need a coach? Why do I need a mentor? I've never had one in my life. You probably have. You just haven't put that label on them. I mean, I think that we get a lot of influence, and, you know, our greatest teachers are, you know, we haven't really recognized them as mentors, but on reflection, you know, we've learned quite a lot from people that we didn't actually realize were our teachers, you know. So we've all had mentors out there, you know, they exist. And I think as we get older and older and older, you know, and our goals and our dreams get bigger, you know, you need to bring a new specialist to...
So why do we take our car to the MOT? Why don't we do it ourselves?
Because we are not equipped with the skills and knowledge to do it. So that's bad. I used to study motorsport engineering. I do, but I used to study electrical engineering.
Yeah, electrical, yeah. What did you study?
What?
Yeah.
Motorsport engineering.
Oh, wow. Motorsport.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I realised I love pissing around on motorbikes and driving fast cars, but I don't get my hands dirty like repairing them.
have you heard about the verb rally?
Yes. I was actually speaking to
the Shanna.
Yes, I had a meeting about it the other day.
Yeah, it's I went on her verb rally. I took my clients with me because I do coaching and driving.
Yeah.
I take my
at the same time.
At the same time, yeah.
We fill up the back seat.
We go in the sports car, fast cars, and we do a lot of coaching and mentoring while we're driving.
Yeah, I'm gonna look to take part in that.
It's an amazing experience.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about AGF. We talked about law of attraction. Loneliness. What was your other book about? I haven't had a chance to read that one yet.
This is a magical book, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to use the magic of the book?
I've done
it like on TV. I've done it everywhere. So it's a Path to Wisdom was written in 2014. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people ask me, when did the concept start? The concept started when I was like 8 years old. From very young age, I used to repair TV and radio sets. And
electrical engineering,
electrical engineer. Yeah. I mean, I never studied that. I just, anything electronic, people, all the neighborhood, all the family would bring them. I had a garage in my parents' house. My garage was full of electronics.
Yeah.
And I would repair. But back then, we didn't have the sophisticated technology we have now. Mm-hmm. In the 70s, you know, we had pretty basic technology. And I remember when my father bought the first colored TV, and it was from a German art called Grundig. I'm not sure if you remember.
Yeah, I do remember.
You're too young, but you know.
My parents had a little TV in the bedroom.
And basically, first of all, they came without remote control, and then they came with a remote control. Mm-hmm. And with a remote control, you had to go and set up the frequencies manually. And you had to have a manual, and the manual was in German, English, French, Italian, but it never was in Serbo-Croat or Macedonian or Albanian. So I remember getting this big dictionary and had to go word by word, try to understand how to set up the channels. And this is the idea I was born saying, what if I could create a manual for humanity to be able to create a perfect picture for themselves, being able to actually fine-tune themselves to that level within the self that the picture they see in the world is clear. And this is where it started. And also I used to observe a lot of injustice in the society, especially towards women, towards my mother, towards my sisters.
It's a big topic at the moment.
Yeah. So it was something that really stayed with me for a long time. And also being brought up in a country where Albanians were looked as a minority people, even though years before that country was part of Greater Albania. But, as the assimilation happened and as the country was formed and former Yugoslavia was formed, you were not really allowed to be yourself. And wherever you went, whether it's in school, you had limits to how much you can achieve. So, for instance, you couldn't be a president of a country, or you couldn't be,
Right.
prime minister, or, have like high-end jobs. Mm-hmm. And although in high school I was one of the top students in maths and physics, which won many awards in former Yugoslavia, I still could not achieve what I wanted because I was seen with a label, and the label was Albanian. And, and I always thought this is wrong. Why should we treat one another like that? Because my parents did not teach me to see the society with labels, despite the fact that I was seen through labels. So I just literally knew I had to do something for humanity to help people almost become naked with one another. Okay, it's
Is that why we're sat here about our
absolutely, without our trousers on, which you guys don't see, but if you want, we can do an X-tube video. But I always wanted to do something, and when I was 9, I almost died, and I remember being in hospital, and I remember first time when I would have like out-of-body experiences, and nobody would be able to explain to me the experiences I was having, but they felt as real as you interviewing me. And the only person who knew about that was...
Or is this an out-of-body experience?
It could be. It was my grandfather and all the Sufi healers that used to heal me at the time. And this is where my curiosity started building up, because the medical world, they gave up on me. So my mom was given a letter saying I will die in 3 days. So my mother called my father, who at the time used to work in Bosnia, to travel 1,000 miles to come and straight away home, preparing for funeral. Then they took me to the same healers who told my parents I'll be one day a great master healer going around the world and healing people.
When you go about healers, what's their practice? What are they doing?
What you want to know is, we heal people. We help people heal.
They're just using language to help you, or
no? It's a hands-on healing and certain rituals and processes, and natural energies, and breathing, and what we call nowadays yoga. But back then we didn't really have yoga. Mm-hmm. We just had a lot of practices. But it is through these people who I first came across about certain healing techniques to help people ease pain, for instance, migraines, and being able to move people's headaches and migraines from a very young age. So for me, it used to be almost like being a magician.
Yeah.
And, but it is these people who helped me get off hospital and get better and better. And I started becoming extremely curious. What is it that these people know that the medical science does not know? And why a person who lives in a hut in the middle of the mountain with nothing, basic things like water and didn't even have electricity, candles, could do things that my body would feel better and better every single day. But I was in hospital, military hospital, and main hospital in Skopje, and I was getting worse and worse, being given pills.
Right.
So I started really thinking about it. So together with this injustice and everything else, I always wanted to write a manual. And this came about after being made redundant in 2009 from a job I used to love, and I loved very much in technology. And I really sat down and I said, okay, what is it that I want to do? And this is the time when I joined the KPI program, which is run by Daniel Priestley, the How to Become a Key Person of Influence. As part of the program, you need to write a book. And I remember sitting down and I said to Daniel, the rest of it, I have 20 years of experience. I don't really need, but for sure, I would love to write my book because it's been in my awareness for 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's something that we it's actually Mindy, the woman they recommended. And for me, it wasn't a problem writing a book. For me, it was a problem, where do I stop? Because
it's exactly the same thing as what I've gone through.
Yeah.
Postpone. It's like, when do I stop my thought process and actually push that out?
Yeah. So basically, at that time, I wrote a book, but the first book that I wrote did not feel natural to me. It was too much of a push and too much of a doing a book because the program said so. So it didn't feel connected to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go back and create that manual. And so I went to Brazil. I saw my spiritual teacher, John of God, in Brazil. And I spent there 12 weeks in meditation. And 12 weeks in meditation, I wanted to integrate my scientific background, maths, physics, engineering, technology, with psychology, with NLP, with cognitive behavior, with all the healing work. And I wanted to really create a mathematical formula that makes sense to people. Not just like, here's a healing and people say, well, that does not make any sense to me. But I wanted something which is tangible that people can use on a day-to-day basis. And I wanted something that it helps people create balance across all of the 8 key areas of their life, where basically we enhance our spiritual self and our spiritual abilities, where we start becoming masters of our mind, because people who master their mind, they master the universe.
Yeah.
Then we get in touch with our emotions, and therefore we actually master the way our emotional body works. Then our physical body, and bringing our body into perfect health and perfect balance. Then our relationship. Then looking into the business and how the business is run, because most people nowadays do not feel loved in business, and they don't feel nurtured. They don't want to go to work.
Yeah.
They do it because they expect a paycheck. And then how to really remove the limit that we keep telling ourselves, this is what I'm worth. So how to help people increase their wealth and their wisdom.
Yeah.
And therefore use that to drive their own purpose, and also have an overall love for themselves and for humanity, and be credible what they do for humanity and for the people they love. So I wanted to create a methodology which encompasses all of those areas. And this is through those 12 weeks in meditation, the vision came to me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I sit down and wrote about what is it that protects us. And usually in the outer environment, we have so many alarms. You go to Switzerland, in any of the most sacred banks, you have the most sophisticated alarms. Now, we all know that we have tremendous power within ourselves. But that power also is a power that can destroy and power that can create. Now, this is what we fear. We fear our true nature. And our true nature is that, a destroyer and a creator. And I said, well, this intelligence, no matter what we call it, whether we call it God, universe, energy, it does not matter, it's just a label. Clearly, it has had some built-in mechanism that protects us. And then when we are not aligned to that, it alarms us. And the question is, are we listening? So the alarm acronym came into my vision. And the TJS evolutionary method alarm, which is now trademarked globally, it's about a conscious engineering processes that bring you to true acknowledgement of love, which helps you achieve the results that most people call miracles.
Mm-hmm.
And there are unique 25 steps. And if you go through those steps, it will help you not only amplify your awareness, not only will equilibrate your mind, will start activating your extrasensory perceptions, like the fifth and sixth sense and seventh sense. So you don't need any ayahuasca and drugs for you to have spiritual experiences. Your body is capable.
A lot of people doing that.
Your body is capable to do all of those things. But unfortunately, we're used to this shortcut. Most people want results like a text message.
Yeah.
So they don't do the real work. This is almost a life manual that in any moment in time, if you open it up, I will guarantee you will bring you a new awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we're going to test it. So you're going to put your left hand on the book. Okay?
Here we go.
Now watch, guys. You are all witnessing here.
All right.
I would like you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in. And just bring your awareness into your heart. And as you silence yourself, do ask one question which is personal to you that you would like guidance on. One specific question about you, not about other people, just about you. the energy, and just ask, show me the next steps. And when ready, just open your eyes. Okay? Now, take the book, and you're going to open it randomly. Okay? Randomly, wherever you want. Okay? Now, before we further, this will become your study for this question. Are you willing to share the question?
Yeah.
Okay, what was the question?
What's my health going to look like in 40 years?
Perfect. Now, you're going to start reading loudly from the top.
Okay.
And read it with a heightened awareness in specifically the question you ask.
Not only does the technique help the muscle groups, but also the nervous and lymphatic systems.
Mm-hmm.
Being passionate about inspiring people to be authentic, reconnecting their body, mind, spirit, and their hearts. When I met these two great individuals, I knew they were equally passionate in what they did. They loved helping the body breathe properly and bringing the body back into a state of alignment so it could function the way it was designed to.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You have consistently answer after the answer after the answer about the question you asked. What was the question?
What's my health going to look like in 30 to 40 years?
What is your guidance you're receiving? There and then.
There's two people that are equally passionate in what they do, that they loved helping the body breathe properly and bringing the body back into a state of alignment so it functioned the way it was designed to.
Okay, read that again, that part.
Right, so what you're basically trying to say is I need to go and see two people that are experts in that area to help me with that.
No.
No? Oh.
No. So, it's the first question. It's the question I have for you.
Yeah.
How well do you breathe?
How well do I breathe?
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't feel I have a problem with my breathing.
No, that's not the question I asked.
Well, then.
How well do you breathe?
I breathe well.
Okay. What is a well breathing for you?
Like into the belly and I exhale. Okay. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Breath is the elixir of life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If we oxygenize the body consistently, most people have shallow breaths, and therefore they breathe very shallow.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to have long-term health, I would suggest to you have a daily practice of proper breathing.
Mm-hmm. Like meditation, right?
Meditation.
Yeah.
Some people switch off in meditation, so it's not really a proper practice unless you do it properly. But the next one is having an alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Read it.
Back into it. A state of alignment so it could function the way it was designed to.
Okay. So what does that state of alignment mean? What is the greatest cause to bad health?
I don't know, high blood pressure.
And what causes that?
Stress.
And what causes that?
Could be work. It could be your environment, your values not being aligned with.
Well, if that's true, then every person is in the same environment will suffer stress, and that's not true.
I feel a lot of people experience stress.
A lot of people in the same environment? We could be in this environment, for instance, and each one of us will perceive this differently, although it's the same environment.
Okay, agreed.
So, which means it's about how you, within yourself, how your perceptual filters observe reality that will cause the body to be out of alignment and into a stress position then, which will have the further effects within the body. So the message you're getting in there, it's about what are you doing from now till whatever period of time you're thinking about your health that keeps you in alignment with your true being. Because the body, it's every time we put our body under stress, it's almost like we put in toxins into it. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of people who are amazing at like being careful what they eat, but they're not careful what they think.
Yes.
And unfortunately, when you have that combination with this combination, that is also toxic for the body, no matter how healthy you are. Because I've met people who are extremely healthy who later on, within their 40s, they died.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really about just the health of the food. It's about how you consistently keep your body into alignment and how you think. And your mind is the engine of your body.
Mm-hmm.
So if you keep a clear mind and if you keep a balanced mind, where basically, as I said earlier on, every time you judge something, you will attract it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we're so used to be able to judge anything that we perceive to be bad, but we're not thinking about how the judgment changes our chemical reaction within the body.
Mm-hmm.
So become more aware of your internal processes in the way you actually perceive your environment and the way you have a relationship with the environment.
But how is that going to help with my
long-term health?
Yeah.
Okay.
That I get to manage your mind in terms of reacting to situations, so you don't flick over to the negative and cause yourself. I see that
There's
I
a whole
manage that
chain
all
of
the time.
chemical reaction that happens in the body,
And I get that.
result.
I get that. And you're saying that is the solution to maintaining the best possible health I could have.
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen, breathe, and have a great relationship with your inner being. A great relationship with your inner being means that in any situation, in any time, your body will tell you how you feel. Unfortunately, we're not used to listen to that because we have the because. It could be because of a girlfriend, it could be because of a job, it could be because of a parent, it could be because
what it is,
of a
like
society.
I do this quite a lot. When it's like there's a Lego brick on the floor, right? And you step on a Lego brick, you go and
this is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, and so I'm getting that. You work your way up into an unnecessary level of stress.
Stress, correct.
And I had like the other day, I jammed my finger in a door, and I just quickly went, okay, and then just moved on. However, I've seen people like they have these little instant things, like it's just completely unnecessary. So I understand what you're saying. That's how I can relate to the everyday world.
The human awareness does not have the capability to be able to bring all of the events together by the time the illness manifests in the body. For me, illness is the last communication of your body to you. When you have ignored yourself and your body and all of those alerts, which I talk about in the alarm, that the body consistently gives you, but you constantly ignored it. Okay? And eventually, the accumulative effect, it's an illness of the body. Okay? It's when I had the fortune to meet people who've been healthy all the way to 96, 98, and they died of natural health, natural process. And I've had the opportunity to meet people from a very young age who have strict line of illnesses. I was in Menorca, and if you have a chance to see one of the video of my clients, where my clients flew me there with the entire family to observe the family dynamics and the work with the family energy. Okay? Now, everybody got ill but me. In their mindset, it's the moment you get the flu, I get the flu. In my mindset, it's not. If you get the flu, that's good for you. Deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm a healer, so for me, it does not mean. Because a lot of people, we have these beliefs that become firm into our body without ever questioning if that's true. Now, if it's true that the virus can infect you straight away, the entire planet will be infected straight away. If it's true that the moment we go into a tube station, with one person having the flu, the whole carriage will be full of flu, and that's not true. So therefore, clearly, each person has a different level of defense mechanism. And what actually helps that person to have a different level of defense mechanism, it's the inner alignment.
Okay, I'm getting it.
Yeah?
I'm getting it, yeah.
So, if you keep telling yourself, I'm going to have a car crash, I'm going to have a car crash, it's more likely you're going to have one.
Well, on that note, I tell you, I got done for, when I was younger, I got done for being on the phone whilst driving or something like that.
Yeah.
So I went to like this awareness course, right? And, the guy was standing at the front of the room saying, why shouldn't we do this? And this, blah, blah, blah. Took up a whole day. And as I was driving back, like, bang, there's a crash right in front of me. And I was seconds away from being involved in that. And I was like, holy shit, like, that's where it's working against me.
Yeah, but you can actually work it for you as well.
Yeah.
And this is what I noticed, that how most people in in our awareness and in society, their attention span is very small. Okay, and also the way they listen and the way they observe and the way they have an awareness about the situation. You know, we look at, for instance, any of the events that happened around the planet in the last year. Okay, we only get to see not even 0.0000001% of what truly happened in that event.
Yeah.
But then we absorb that as a truth, and then our body reacts to that as something traumatic or something to celebrate. And when we have those high and lows, this is the worst thing that you can do to your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of people tend to associate love when you are high.
Yeah, I agree.
And this tells you exactly the signs of actually what love is. And the methodology in the background, if you truly follow it in the order that is meant to be done, those 25 steps. So anything, we keep mentioning this. So the first part is the awareness, okay?
Yeah.
When we bring our awareness to any situation, to any thought, to any belief, to any value, to any, I would say, difficulty we might have in our life, the first thing we can do is awaken certain states within ourselves and certain knowledge, certain wisdom. And if we don't have it, we can go and find out.
Yeah.
And once we have that awakening, the second part is, are we alert to it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because most people are not even alert to it. They don't see a sense of urgency. Mm-hmm. As I said, they will just leave it and they will see the accumulative effect. But then they don't even pay attention. And then when you ask them something and say, oh, I know that. Great. Well, if you know it, why do you have a problem with it? And this is how we learn to say, for instance, oh, I know how to do podcasts. Okay? So if you know how to do podcasts, why don't you have a million followers? Mm-hmm. Okay? Because knowing for me comes after you bring your awareness to that situation. Okay? So yes, I do know 5% doing podcasts, but I could be learning 95%. So therefore, let's see what's the awakening there. And there could be maybe I need some other partners who have massive global distribution. So therefore, I can increase whatever my goals are for my podcast. Or let's say, what are the alerts? Okay, the alerts could be how much engagements you have with your podcast, how many people are engaging with you. Okay, so this is where I'm right now. What would be my desirable stuff? My desirable would be like 100 people talking about my podcast, or having 10,000 people downloading my podcast. So you have metrics behind that. Mm-hmm. So if you're not having that, are you really paying attention to that, to growing your channel?
Yeah, of course.
And if you're not paying attention, are you
podcast.
taking action? And what you take in action towards it? And once you take on the action, once you achieve the result, then you can say, I acknowledge it. But most people say acknowledgement without really
putting the work in.
Putting the work in it, which ties in back with the law of attraction, saying, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to have a million. No, you're not going to have a million.
Yeah.
Do out there, do a service for 1 million people, and then you'll get a million. Mm-hmm. Similar thing.
Yeah.
This is about around the acronym of alarm, which then brings that inner peace. Most people, if you go about day to day, they don't have inner peace, and I can see it straight away in their eyes. Their body is busy. Mm-hmm. And when the body is busy, the noises you are listening, or the intuition, you might think it's an intuition. It's not intuition, it's a noise. And most people mix the noise with intuition. And the focus, where is your focus? So when you go through that, you will have an increased high awareness of that. Mm-hmm. And therefore, you become extremely trustful about your credibility, about your capabilities, no matter what they are. But also you trust your body, you trust your mind, you trust your emotions, you trust your feeling of where you are and how your body is communicating to you. Is it ready for an MOT or if it's not? And when you have that, success is given. Then you have a clarity of thought, and whatever you do from your place of love and from your heart chakra. So wherever you go, you resonate. And actually you radiate, you do not gravitate. And most people gravitate, and therefore people perceive to be negative.
This is the blueprint on how to be a hippie.
Absolutely. A successful hippie. No. Successful hippie. Wealthy, successful hippie. There's very few of those.
Tony, we're a bit short on time. I mean, I could literally sit here for hours and hours and hours, you know. I feel that you offer some really interesting insights. And you know, I'm learning some things as well. So it's fantastic. I like to sort of wrap the show up with a bit of a kiss and tell. So, have you got a girlfriend? Have you got a
No,
wife?
boyfriend.
You got a boyfriend.
Yeah.
So, how did you meet your boyfriend?
Oh my God, that's a whole story.
Yeah.
I met him 2 years and 3 months now. I was at my nephew's wedding. He's my eldest nephew in my family. We only have 10 years difference between the two of us. So it's almost like a little brother. It's my nephew from Switzerland. And we were at his wedding, then I took my nieces. He went on honeymoon. Then I took all of my nieces. We went to a place called Ohrid in Skopje, in Macedonia, and which is the western part of Macedonia, the most beautiful, biggest natural lake in Europe. And you have almost 200-something monasteries. It's extremely spiritual,
nice.
Beautiful natural beaches. So we are there with my nieces, and I was single, they are single, so we're all looking for boys. So and I put up my app, my Grindr app, and suddenly I had like 10 messages from him, and he wanted sexual experiences. I said, well, I've had those. I'm after a husband. I want somebody who I can build my life with.
Yeah.
And I kept sending him pictures of monasteries and sunset and my family, romantic pictures. He kept sending me sexual visuals. And I said, clearly, there's no match between us.
Yeah.
So we established that very quickly. I left it, and after a week, I took my nieces back to Skopje. And then I turned the app again on after a week, and he says, oh my God, you're 200 meters from me. I know we're not, a match. How about we'll just have a coffee, because I really like our conversation.
Yeah.
And he said, you know how to, bring me back to my center. And I said, sure. So we met by the river Varda, which is very beautiful, a lot of like cafeterias, very Mediterranean life in there. And I'm sitting there waiting for him, and suddenly he comes, and he was dressed up, it was 40 degrees in Macedonia, with shorts and vest, with his glasses. And when he saw me, if you interviewed him, he will tell you, he told himself, why did I say that? Because he said to me, it's not romantic, he's not looking for a boyfriend, and all of those things. He was literally sorry for saying those things. So we sat down, but something happened in there, which something that it was very unusual. Okay, with me, a lot of unusual things happen. When I saw him, I saw he was in grief. I went back into that human energy field, and I was observing him. He was in grief, and suddenly I felt a touch. I turned around, there is nobody. And he started feeling insecure about I'm looking, probably thought I don't really like him, and I was starting to look up for other men around. But second time I heard the touch, it's almost like a physical touch. And I turned around, nothing. And third time I started hearing a voice, and I had a full download. And it was his mother who passed away. And that was like almost I saw the last 3 days of his mother passing away. And then I started telling him, because she would not leave me alone. And he just bursted into tears, and he panicked, and he said to me, stop. There's no way you could know any of this information. Who are you? And this is where he dropped his labels, because I did not know who this guy was. And it's actually cardiosurgeon. But in Macedonia, a lot of people are afraid to say they're gay.
Yeah.
And therefore, we started having a real conversation. And then he said to me, let's go out for dinner. And then, I continued to tell him what I saw. And he could just verify everything I said. And he said, there's no way, nobody knows those things. So we started with a dinner, and we spent every single day ever since.
Wow. How long ago was that then?
2 years and 3 months.
Wow, very strong, man.
And he moved to London about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I never thought I would meet anybody from down there.
Yeah.
Because pretty much I was very attracted to, I would say, Northern European guys rather than sort of the, South down there. And the reason being because of their internalized homophobia, not because I don't like them, look-wise. It's just I can't be handling, the closeted feeling and all the drama that comes with that.
Yeah.
Because I had to go through that, and I just didn't want to go back into the closet.
Yeah, I get you.
I wanted an equal partner in my life who's equally free and equally wants to develop a nice life together, and we've been developing that ever since.
Excellent.
So that's how we met. Thank you.
Tony, how can everyone out there find out about you?
They can go to my website, tonyselimi.com, and in there you have all the links across all of my social media, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook profile. My Facebook is full, but they can go on my public profile, which is Tony J. Selimi Public. much I'm connected. They can find everything. They can
You're everywhere.
I'm everywhere. They can watch the interviews. They can follow me on YouTube channel, and I post all of my interviews in there, and this one posted in there. I'm sure there's been,
Yeah, you got some great content on channel. You went speech that guy in the US. Great stuff. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it. It's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming on.
For the opportunity.
Yeah, it's really been insightful, and I hope all the viewers have learned something and taken it on board.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Cool. Oh, Jesus, I could talk. But I was thinking, how batteries, these guys. I was thinking,
you weren't being present.
I know. I'm trying to be as present as possible.
But you have two experts in here.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yep.
Could I do a quick 10-minute interview with you?
Yeah, sure,
about
absolutely.
your books and the writing process.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
You want to leave these books up here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where would you like me?
Do you want to stretch your legs for a little bit?
It's okay. I've done many interviews,
Okay.
When I was recently in Macedonia, one of the most experienced TV director, she felt uncomfortable interviewing me.
Why?
Why? Because I put her out of her comfort zone.
Okay.
Because she had a problem with gay people. And she was one of these people who extremely religious, and therefore in their value system it's almost like alien. But I got her to acknowledge live on TV, on her own show, the bullshit she was saying to herself and to the world.
Okay. I love it.
And she said to me, like, no one ever put me on a mat position in my own show. She literally canceled the dinner, her birthday dinner with her family, and she took me out for dinner. And we became friends ever since. So every time I go down